Well, 2 or 3 weeks ago in Oklahoma gardening, we were talking about how black spot was beginning to show up on the roses. And certainly our wet and humid weather has taken its toll on roses with black spot. It's really increased, even though we have tried to keep it under control. If you're not familiar with black spot, let me take just a minute to show you the signs. It is a foliage disease that is really devastating to roses during periods of hot, humid weather. And with black spot, we can usually see, first of all, a very small, tiny black spot appearing on the foliage. Gradually, these spots enlarge and become very dark in appearance, and then the entire leaf will yellow and it will fall off. Well, this is damaging to the roses for a variety of reasons. First of all, of course, it makes an unsightly appearance because you lose all that foliage on the underneath or the bottom portion of the plant. But it also takes away from the food reserve of the plant. And so it's difficult then for that plant to go ahead and manufacture enough food to continue a good flush of flowers throughout the season. But there's a few things that we can do. First of all, of course, we can prevent black spot, or at least hold it down somewhat, by the use of fungicides, and we'll talk about those in just a little while. But one thing you may want to do to rejuvenate your roses, and this is just a matter of good practice, whether you have black spot or not, but especially if your roses have been severely infected with disease, but what you'll want to do is come in and remove those old flowers as they begin to fade. And I like to put them in a container and take them out of the garden simply because they just don't look too good there with the old petals and the old buds down on the ground underneath the plant. And then on some roses, like the one we have over here, you may want to even do a little bit of pruning, slight pruning of the rose itself to help rejuvenate or to force out some new growth. But we'll take these old flowers off, and then we'll come in and take just a few of the canes from the inside to open up the center a little bit and to promote maybe some vigorous mid-season or midsummer growth on here. Then another thing we'll want to do after we do this is fertilize the rose with a water-soluble fertilizer, and we'll do that in just a minute. But let's talk a little bit more first of all about controlling the black spot. One of the interesting things is that black spot is no doubt varietal. There are some varieties that are much more resistant to black spot than others. Look at the yellow rose here, right in the middle of this. It's hardly at all touched by black spot. The other roses have some real problems associated with this disease. There are several fungicides one can use on black spot. Many of these fungicides, however, even though they are effective, may cause not only a little bit of burning on the foliage, it will also cause some burning of the flower petals themselves. But you may want to pick up one now that's such as Orthonex, which is a fairly new fungicide. It's safe to use on the plants. It doesn't seem to bother the flower by burning the petals, and has a little bit of a systemic action, and usually will last a little bit longer. Then another thing you'll want to do is fertilize your roses. Pick a good water-soluble fertilizer that's fairly high in nitrogen. Mix it at the appropriate rate. This is usually about a tablespoon per gallon of water. And then just simply pour this around the plant at about every 2 weeks to help strengthen this plant and give it a little bit of a boost in the middle of the summer to try to get some of these flowers coming on out again. We hope that you have some success with your roses, and we know that if you follow some of these guidelines, you probably will. Roses are really not all that difficult to control. You just sort of have to be aware of some of the problems that may be associated with them.